Welcome, Carm Capriotto, the Service Aftermarkets podcast pioneer with the gold standard of aftermarket business podcasts. Join me for Aftermarket Insights as we advance the aftermarket. And as always, know that you'll learn just one thing. Find us on your favorite podcast listening app and RemarkableResults.biz or on my YouTube channel. Hey, everybody, Carm Capriotto, Remarkable Results Radio and another Town Hall Academy. Okay, episode 397. That means 397 weeks of doing this. How exciting. It's one of the most favorite podcasts that I love to do in these town hall single subject forums. Always my pleasure to bring the best insights and knowledge that I can to the automotive aftermarket. Hey, before we get started, lots going on today. Of course, we're doing soft skills. Let's talk about our great sponsors. Let's face it, your shop management system is the most critical tool in your shop. Now, Napa Trax will move your shop into the SMS fast lane with on-site training and 6 days a week support and local representation. Find Napa Trax on the web at napatracs.com. And shop owners, at the end of the day, relish the satisfaction of seeing your business thrive, your team motivated, and your customers leaving with a smile. Talk to Coach Chris Cotton at AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching at autoshopcoaching.com. And are you ready to optimize with today's class? Well, in just 5 minutes daily, just 5 minutes, boost knowledge retention and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Join your peers. It's a ton of fun. Great learning at todaysclass.com. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. Hey, hope to see all of you at ASTA out in Raleigh, North Carolina, September 26th through the 28th, AstaExpo.com. Look at my panel.
Hi, Carm.
What a beautiful, beautiful panel. And that
Thanks,
includes
Carm.
you guys, too.
Always great to be here.
Rachel Spencer is here from Spencer's Auto Repair, Krum, Texas.
Hi,
I
Carm.
encourage all of you, hey, Rachel, I encourage you all to go rewatch or listen to a Aftermarket Weekly show, 169. We did a show on racialisms. That was so good. Darrin Barney's here, the CEO of Elite Worldwide and co-owner of Barney Brothers Off-Road and Repair, Grand Junction, Colorado. Hey, Darrin.
Hey, Carm. How are you?
Good, man. Bill Snow is here, VP of Franchise Development and Operations and shop owner of Red Air, Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, Bill.
Hey, Carm.
Hey, you guys have been all just incredible contributors, so I appreciate you being here because I know you've got a lot of passion about speaking about soft skills. Before we get started, though, Darrin, you've got something going on with Elite, and I would love to hear about it.
Well, of course. Yeah, no, actually, we've got Fly with the Eagles, our business management training course coming up November 7th through the 9th in Raleigh, North Carolina. And Joe Marconi and Matt Lofton are teaching that. So it's a 3-day course. We partner with ASTA and Jasper and Napa to really get a good low price on it, too. So that's exciting. And then we have our big event coming up in January, the 24th and the 25th. In Dallas. That's called Ignite. We're going to have a lot of Lean Six Sigma training and a bunch of big speakers and just exciting stuff coming up. So yeah, thanks, Carm. Thanks for asking.
I got to tell you, Lean Six Sigma, it's huge today.
It's so cool.
I have to tell you a little story. It was Christy Hudson one day that she designed the walk path in her shop on doing an oil change.
Yep.
And it looked like a plate of spaghetti.
It's amazing how many extra steps technicians take, service advisors, everybody does.
And they made all kinds of moves.
Yep.
So that they can improve productivity. So anyway, that's cool. Glad to hear that. Now look, soft skills. Just recently, last week, advisory board for our local college that I'm on. Our dean was there. She's at every meeting and she started to talk about soft skills. And I looked at her and I said, wow, I'm doing an episode next week on soft skills. And she's realizing, and so is education, that there's a huge gap in the students. And part of the question at the table, everyone, who's responsible for this? It went around the room. Is it the parents? Is it the supervisors? Is it the mentors? Is it the educators? And all of a sudden, well, it's not really mine, it's the parents. None of it's getting done. On my little mini list, and I know we're going to talk about this stuff, and it actually came up at our advisory meeting. eye contact, shaking hands, the ability to sign a check, and the professional interaction. What if they need to go get a car loan? Do they really know how to interact with an individual who's sitting across the table ready to approve a loan? And I know it's all internet-based stuff today, but can we have a professional interaction with people? And then friendliness, empathy, respectfulness, courtesy, accepting feedback, punctuality, communication, and following rules. And if you imagine yourself as a shop owner and some of your people had all of these qualities, they'd be more of a superstar than they currently are. I'm not passionate about this, am I? So let's start at the number one thing. And Rachel, I know every one of you want to talk about communication, but to me, and by the way, Tracy and Sarah Fraser are doing a class at ASTA on communication. So it's amazing how it all rolls down. And I personally think that communication is one of the number one educational seminars you can go to improve not only yourself, but to help and lead and teach your people. Rachel, let's start on communication.
Yeah, I mean, communication is the art of our language. There's so many different ways to communicate, whether that's verbal, nonverbal, visual, written. I think it's so important for us to close the expectation gap with our customers, with our employees, with our children. I think we've gotten so far away with that, with having cell phones in our hands, that we're not communicating clearly anymore with each other. We don't see that visual response some of the time, so we don't really know what people are feeling. But I think it's so important that we are communicating with each other so we know what's expected of us throughout the business and for everyone.
Yeah, Carm, I'll jump in on that. So Rachel hit all the important parts on communication. And one of the ones that I like to emphasize with our teams is the listening part of communication, right? God gave us one mouth and two ears, and we're supposed to use them in that proportion. So it's important as leaders that we're listening to our people, but then when we're not there, we need our teammates and our teams to be effectively communicating, especially by listening. What are they struggling with? What don't they have? What's wrong with the part they're trying to install? A lot of times when you're not listening, you're jumping to conclusions. You're thinking about the next step because you've got the phone, 2 calls on hold. You got 2 people at the counter. If we're not listening, we're making the problem worse.
Darrin, tell me about that 3-second rule when it comes to listening.
Oh yeah, that's something that it changed my life when I learned that, is that after a person is done speaking, you're supposed to let that set for 3 seconds. And what happens during that time is it lets your own brain process, but it also allows the other person to get any other thoughts out or anything else that they're thinking about. So a huge thing, I've actually found that when somebody's upset or when you're waiting for your kids to tell you more, that 10 seconds is really awesome. I learned this lesson. I came home from some training and I was sitting at dinner, and I always ask my kids every night what they learned from the day. And we've been doing this for years. So I asked them the question. I always got the same replies that I've always got, this nothing, Dad, it was just okay. And then just went on. But this time I went back, and instead of bailing them out going to the next kid, I actually just let it sit. And I let it sit there for a few seconds, and it got to 10 seconds. And all of a sudden my son, which is one I started with, and he's like, you know what, Dad, but actually, and he went through this whole story and he told me everything that was going on that day. And I was just blown away because I didn't bail him out and go right to my daughter, which is normally next on the line. So giving that time for them to actually make it uncomfortable and speak was awesome.
Yeah, so, you waited. One of the things that I've learned so well in Toastmasters is the incredible pause. And let me just share my opinion on ums and ahs. So many of here's what I've discovered. When you say that as a speaker or an individual who's attempting to get their point across, here's my takeaway. Don't want someone to steal the conversation from you, because we as poor listeners at the other end are ready to jump on and put our 3 or 4 cents into it and move. So we want to hold and grip the conversation with the ums and the ahs. And what I've learned in Toastmasters, because we have a Remarkable Results Toastmasters group on our website, remarkableresults.biz/Toastmasters, what I've learned is the pregnant pause is incredibly important, especially if you're using body and eye contact to keep it, because if you're engaging enough, it forces you to be a better speaker so that you don't have to and ah yourself to death. And it's the thinking process that goes in between what you just said and what you are going to say next. And if it's not that important, then your silence continues so you can give the individual you're speaking to their own space and their own time and their own moment. Thank you for the 3-second pause. I think it's critically important. And I work my butt off not to do ums and ahs.
Right.
Who's next?
That's why they have the counter, right?
That's right. It's been it is truly, we've encouraged service advisors from shops to get involved in the Toastmasters. And yeah, this is aftermarket focused. I get it. We meet twice a month. It's virtual, but the learning has been just off the charts and really incredible. By the way, my daughter Tracy became president of our group this year.
That's awesome.
That's great.
We're happy. We're happy for her.
Hey, one thing to add on to the Toastmasters. So not everybody has a Toastmasters chapter, and if they are unable to maybe even join yours virtually, Carm, one of the things I found is when our team members are involved in the Chamber of Commerce or B&I events, they get better at public speaking. They get more confident with how they're communicating. And a lot of times in those settings, you have to do it in a confined time. I've seen a big growth in our teams that attend chamber events regularly, attend B&I events regularly. Their communication, their verbal communication, and their body language is that much better. And that relates in better team relationships, better team communication, but also across the counter to our clients.
Bill, let me stay with you and talk about empathy. Sometimes it's a word people don't quite understand, but it is a powerful soft skill.
If someone doesn't grasp it, and I guess kind of level set it, it can be a little something different to everybody, but it's really understanding the position of the other person or the situation of the other person, understanding that so that you can more effectively relate with them. That can be so helpful in negotiations, so helpful in communication, selling, getting jobs dispatched. And when you start working with your team and talking about empathy, and it's really something you have to talk about, you're just not going to say, hey, we need to be more empathetic as a team, high five and leave. It's something you need to talk about. You need to role play it with them. You need to re-role play when you're listening to your phone calls or you'll overhear maybe a conversation that didn't go well at the counter. But when we start to understand the position or the situation or the constraint that the other party is dealing with, we can start to craft our response so that it meets them, not where they are necessarily, closer to where they are, but it's going to be more of a happy medium. It also helps us on the other end more effectively communicate where we're coming from, because now we understand where they are.
Yeah, empathy is such a huge thing. I love Stephen Covey's his analysis of it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it talks about difference between sympathy and empathy is that sympathy means that, you're standing by the river and you're watching a baby get washed down the stream, and so you stand by or you jump in, then you get washed down the stream with it. But empathy means that you do your best to save the child and also save yourself, and work together to come up with a solution. And of course, apathy means you just let the baby go down the stream. But when it comes to dealing with people, it's important that, we go into it with that right attitude, especially as a service advisor. You got somebody that's complaining about money and not having a lack of it, or somebody comes in and is complaining about things. It's okay to understand and work with them through it, but you don't want to get wrapped up in it. And all of a sudden the world's going down in flames. Nobody benefits that way.
Hey, Rachel, before we go to you, I've got to say that I learned what empathy was many years ago in a seminar. And they described that the individual, they hit their thumb with a hammer. They're doing a little nail and hammer thing, and they literally almost crushed their thumb. And the individual said to them, "Oh, I feel your pain. I'm so sorry for you." And they say, "No, you don't feel my pain. Give me your hand." And so that was the difference between sympathy. I had sympathy because he hurt his thumb, but empathy would have been, I share your pain. And I love that. And I think that helps put things in perspective, Rachel.
For sure. I think that we've got to model it to not just our employees, but to our kids and our customers and everyone. We've got to teach them the perspective. And what Bill had said earlier is we really have to promote active listening. They have to know that we're actually listening to them, because if we're not listening to them, we're definitely not going to feel empathetic to what they're saying to us. One thing we do together as a team is we do a program called Fix My Ride twice a year. And we go out and help people that are not able to fix cars themselves. And that really teaches us more empathy than anything, because we're going out there and we're truly connecting with these people, and we're feeling what they feel, and we're seeing their tears, and we're feeling those hugs when they give us a hug back when we're able to fix their car. So I think that's really important, that we're able to defer any judgment and teach our staff that we're not judging these people. We're there. No matter what their circumstances are, we're there to help them, and just demonstrating our empathetic communication with them. And just, it goes into everything that we do. And I think it's important that we teach our kids that, because we are all different, but we are all one. We all love each other, and just teach each other that we're all there to help each other. We rise by lifting others.
I've got this wild idea, because that's what happens to me. I get involved with superstars like you, and I'm sitting here, my mind's going 8 miles a minute, and I'm thinking, a morning huddle. Couldn't we put an agenda item called empathy? And someone says, I felt the pain of my customer because they didn't want to spend this money. Something happened to the vehicle. It was an inconvenience for them. And tell the story that I felt like I was on the other side of the counter with them, feeling their pain. And when we can feel that, I believe the trust that we're looking to build with clients gets stronger if the individual has an open, wide view of what empathy is. I think empathy should be on a weekly huddle.
I think it's so important for our staff to see that and see that we're humans, and our customers to see that too. It's not uncommon for me when I know that a customer's having a bad day that I'll just say, is it okay if I give you a hug? And it's just that little gesture that it means the world to them, just to know that you care. I mean, it's a hug, but to them, it means so much more.
Wow.
One thing too on empathy, it can be used internally within the organization as well. And we learned a lot of this through COVID, the constraints that our employees had at home, whether that was someone that worked in the medical field, they didn't have access to reliable daycare, childcare. So a lot of times us as managers and leaders and shop owners, we have to make decisions that the entire team doesn't see why the decision was made. Sometimes that can come across as favoritism. And if we teach empathy and we lead with empathy in our organizations, our employees and team members will start to see why we make decisions certain ways, and that it's not favoritism, but we understood a constraint that a team member was having. So that probably went into why we made the decision that way. Imagine the power that brings to the entire organization when you have it residing in the front and the back and then in the community. It can really rise your shop and your organization.
Great point, Bill. Hey, I'm with Rachel, Spencer, Darrin, Barney, Bill Snow. We're here talking about soft skills, and we're kind of in this empathy piece. But Darrin, I want to go to you because we were talking about people skills a little while back and about this eye contact thing and how critical it is as a soft skill.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like Rachel said earlier, we're so wrapped up in our phones. There's a great book that you and I talked about a while ago called The Comfort Crisis. And it just talks about how we're going through crazy times as human beings. We were never wired to be in front of a screen as much as we are. And so we have lost touch of that human element. I was reading somewhere, I don't even remember what the number was now, but these kids are getting less than whatever it is, 5 minutes a day of eye contact with their parents, some crazy number, right? I should look it up because it was fascinating to me to hear that. But it's right though, because the kids come home, they're in their phones, you're in your phone, you're on a computer, whatever it is. And with that eye contact, we're just not having it like we used to. But having eye contact is huge with people, especially as a service advisor or as a manager or whatever, and you're dealing with an upset customer or you're dealing with somebody that is apprehensive and you can actually stand there and look into their eyes. It really makes a huge difference. It's just like right now, if I look at the camera and anybody who's watching this, they can see that I'm looking at you through the camera, right? But if I look over here and you were having a conversation, it's like some of that connection is gone. But that's how important it feels to your customers, to your kids, to your employees, to everybody you deal with. Make eye contact. Somebody once taught me that, if you walk away from a conversation, you don't know what color eyes they had, you weren't really looking in their eyes, you weren't paying attention. And I thought, wow, that's a great thing to remember, but we always need to pay attention to what are the color of the eyes. When you're looking at them, really pay attention because they can feel that connection.
I love this story. And before you comment, I learned something a long time ago about eye contact. Here was the gist of the story. Are you uncomfortable looking at both eyes? And a lot of people are. There's two eyes to look at and I keep moving around. And the secret was just look at one eye. Just look at one eye.
Someone recently talked to me about eye contact and they said, Bill, I'm going to challenge you. When you're talking to someone, you look at them so fierce, not with a fierceness, but just focus in on them to the point where it becomes uncomfortable for you. Maybe not them, but you're like, I can't take my eye off this person. I did that. And the connections I was making with people, whether they were established relationships or new relationships, seemed so much better. And I don't think anyone got uncomfortable because I talked to those people again afterwards. They didn't run away thinking I was some weird person for staring them down.
You didn't get arrested?
Yeah, not that time.
Creeper.
All right, okay.
That's awesome.
I did an interview with a technician last week and he kept looking down at his phone the whole time. And to me, it just showed that he had no interest in being here. And I'm like, why would I want you to work for me if you're not even making eye contact with me? This is probably the most important step in your journey with us is getting hired and you're not looking at me. So anytime someone's not looking at me, I'm concerned. One, are they even paying attention to me or do they even want to be here? So I think contact is so important, just to show that you are invested in that relationship and the conversation that you're having.
Right.
Is it a crutch?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable. There's many different sides of this, because sometimes your brain wants that next fix, so you want to scroll, you want to know, but a lot of it is just we're uncomfortable. I mean, especially this younger generation that's not used to having these conversations. I mean, they're used to texting rather than talking. I mean, I see it with my kids and I'm like, why don't you just call? Well, I didn't feel like I was just texting. It's like, well, yeah, but this is a big deal. You just did a great job on your test. Why didn't you just call me? I just figured I'd just text you. It's like that whole connection of, it's uncomfortable. It pushes them outside of the comfort zone. Just like on meetings, though. I mean, once again, if you're on a Zoom meeting, I know that a lot of us are doing in-person stuff, but it's something that if you got somebody that's always looking down like this, it's that verbal body language. I'm showing you guys that nobody's important, right? I mean, it's so important that we just do our best to be connected.
Yeah, I tell my son all the time, you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
Because comfort never comes from, comfortable places. So you're not going to get there. So get used to it, buddy.
That's right. You have to grow. You stretch to grow.
Hey, let's face it. Your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA-TRACS has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the industry's best, most comprehensive SMS. Now, it all starts when a local representative meets with you to learn about your business and how you need to run it. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice, and having local representation is a huge plus. Customizing tracks to your business, whether you're a one-person shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company, a representative consults with you to help optimize your shop's workflow, efficiency, and profitability. Tracks always has the flexibility to do business how you need to do it, which means it can also grow as your business grows. And unlike the other guys, will be there for you after installation with the best training and support in the business. Yes, a learning management system tailored to each role in your company. Simply put, TRACS was designed and built for shop owners just like you. Visit us on the web at NAPA-TRACS, that's NAPATRACS.com. In the world of auto repair, every shop has its unique rhythm and challenges. At AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, they understand that one size does not fit all. That's why we offer personalized business coaching, tailoring our advice to meet your shop's specific needs. Transform your operations with strategies and tools to streamline your workflow, reduce waste, and skyrocket productivity. And when it comes to the numbers, we've got you covered. Our financial management guidance helps you master your finances from cash flow to profit margins, ensuring your revenue grows stronger. Every day, AutoFix Auto Shop Coaching, empowering your shop to achieve more. Visit us at autoshopcoaching.com. Transform your team with today's class, where automotive training is easy, quick, and fun. Just 5 minutes a day on our app can eliminate hours of looking up forgotten information later. It's perfect for technicians, advisors, and managers alike. Keep critical knowledge fresh and top of mind, ensuring your team operates at peak efficiency. Today's class is impactful, accessible from anywhere, and a bit of fun too, and we're not talking about after-hours pizza either. For training that gets results, turn to todaysclass.com. What about the schools? I just recently read that a lot of the schools are saying cell phones in the locker. Yeah. Did somebody finally wake up and says, we're not getting through if we can't remove the distraction?
It's happened at our school. My kids, they have to literally, they cannot have them in their classrooms. If they do, they actually take them, and the second warning, they get sent home from school. So, I mean, they're taking it really serious. It's cool. I mean, it really, honestly, it's really exciting. My kids have said that how much they really enjoy it, because there's a pressure. This was really eye-opening to me. My son's like, well, Dad, there's a pressure because when somebody sends you something, you have to reply. And I'm like, no, you don't. Yeah. He's like, so they know that when I don't reply for an hour, I've been in class. And I thought, wow, just called turning off your phone. But in his world, it's like he doesn't have the option to not reply. And I see it. And we've been talking about it. It's like, you don't have to reply. But I mean, just how they're getting wired. But
well, we should talk about this almost for the next few minutes as a soft skill, learning and knowing how to manage your phone. Just think about that. And it's not like you want to set rules in your place. Listen, I've heard every excuse. We've done shows about phones and say, listen, people want to be in touch. There may be something going on. The baby's sick. There's a lot going on in people's worlds where that instant connectivity is critical. And I know some shop owners that say no personal cell phones in the work, you need to concentrate, you need to be on focus. Other ones say, I want my people to have a full life, but they also know that they can't be mindlessly on their phone. This is a soft skill we have to learn as people to manage.
I
It's
agree.
important.
My kiddo, they're making them put the phones in a basket as soon as they walk into the classroom. And then they're not even allowing them to take them to the bathroom with them. So he has no opportunity at all. They're actually doing a QR code to be able to go to the restroom this year. So they have to scan the QR code and then put the phone back in the basket because the kids were taking too much time in the bathrooms playing on their phones. So now they don't even allow them to take the phones with them into the bathroom.
That's awesome.
Rachel, we're implementing that in our shops.
Are you?
Yeah. They're going to have to tag in and out when they go to the bathroom. That's a brilliant idea.
Well, otherwise, all of a sudden, it's amazing how long it's taking them in the bathroom now. You know, we actually joked about getting a cell phone blocker, honestly, to block the signals.
That was on a forum at one point. Somebody was putting a cell phone. They were putting paint on the walls or something to deter the cell phone signal. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the world coming to?
Yeah, I can see Bill's phone beeps, and he says, "Oh my God, that's 3 times this morning. He's eaten too much Mexican."
We'll get him a teledoc appointment to talk about that.
That's right.
Where has this soft skills episode gone? That's what I want to know. Oh my. So let's talk about, as a soft skill, about the communication styles of other people, knowing that and the value and the power as a soft skill to know someone's traits as a communication style.
Yeah. So the DISC assessment, I'm a big fan of it. And it's something that, if you haven't done it, I would highly encourage you to do it. We do it for all of our team members that join us at Elite, and also doing it for my people that work at Barney Brothers. The reason why is that a DISC tells you what their dominant traits are. If they're really a high-driven person, meaning that they just focus on results, is a lot different than an I person, which is very much like a people person. And all of those, there's 4 main characteristics there. And what I love about it, though, is that I can know. You go on and you take this online assessment, and then you get the results back. What we did is we actually went to a lady called Lisa Kelly, and she's an awesome shop owner, owns Kelly's Automotive, and her and her husband are just wonderful people. But Lisa came to me and she's like, "Hey, I do these DISC assessments. You should look at doing them for your team." And I was like, "Okay." And so then I talked with her about it, and then we did it, and I was blown away because, as an owner or a manager of people, it's so nice to be able to know someone's communication styles. So knowing that somebody on my team is very much a high D, I can't just go and tell them to do something. I've got to go in and explain to them why it needs to be done. Where an I person, you got to go in and you can't just go in and just be blunt and like tell them that these certain results that you want, you need to work with them through that. And if you have someone that's an S personality or a C personality, all of them are all different in how they handle things. So when you get this report for each person, Lisa meets with you and tells you and your team how to work with each other. And to me, it was eye-opening because I am a high D and a high I. And so both those together can be really damaging because I can go in and be really nice one day. And then the next day I can go in with exact knowing what results I want. And so it can be really hard on my team that I have a lot of S and Cs, people that really are good at following through and getting things done. So me being me, I could go in and I'm just really nice and I'm like awesome one day, or 1 hour, and then I talk to them an hour later and I'm like, you know what, and I'm asking for results, and it's really hard on my team, but now they know that's who I am. It helps them to understand that's just part of Darrin's personality. But I know when I call my S or a C, I know I need to make sure I am a little bit more of a people person with them, and I ask them how the day is going, I ask them how the kids are doing, and it just allows us to have that good conversation. So I can go in and be a high D and ask for those results, but yet not blow them out of the water. Sorry, that was a long-winded comment, but I'm a big fan of the DISCs.
Thank you. Me too. Darrin, you've got to be a D.
Wow.
Am I right? Are you a D?
Yeah, high D and high I. Yeah, both of mine are really high. My S and Cs are almost gone. So yeah.
I learned my lesson a long time ago, maybe 25 years ago, when I unfortunately said in my office, while the high CFO was standing outside my office, I was brand new to this company, and I said, I don't think blankety blank knows what the hell they're doing, because I wasn't happy with the numbers that I was seeing. Well, that person heard me, made super exception to it. Had I known what my personality style was, and that individual's, of which I did ultimately get to this class and start learning the mistake that I made, I would have confronted that individual and says, I know how hard all of you work to get it right. Help me know where this came from and why I believe these numbers are wrong. So when I went
amazing though, isn't it?
when I went and apologized and then said it right, I ended up finding out that the numbers were right, and I had someone stealing from the company.
The thing was that when you don't know, I didn't know I was a high D. I had no idea. And yet with that being in a high I, once again, I had this tendency to really offend people because I just would go in and be nice and win them over. And then the next thing I'm dropping a bomb on them.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why I'd do that, Yeah. So it was
he's
an
the nicest
eye-opener.
guy in the world, but he's pounding his fist on his desk. I don't get that.
Exactly. And it's like, well, yeah. So yeah, I really like that. And in fact, Lisa is just a wonderful lady. If anybody's interested, I don't make any commission off of this. I just really see the value in it. You really should reach out to Lisa Kelly, and I can get you her contact information, Carm, if anybody's interested in that. But oh my goodness,
we're all about this. We've done shows on disc. I by the way, on my downloads page on remarkableresults.biz, I have this really cool disc chart. And if you know your particular leaning and you're dealing with a customer, we can teach our people what an individual over the counter would be. Even over the phone, you could usually figure it out. Then it'll teach you what kind of things and the level of conversation that you need to have. And we've got to have Lisa on our show here, Darrin. Thank you.
Should.
What about communication styles with you, Rachel, with you, Bill?
Well, I'm going to piggyback right off of what Darrin was saying. So I'm glad to hear, Darrin, what you're talking about, the DISC assessments. My team just took it. And on the 19th of September, we're going to be going through it, actually shutting the shop down for a couple hours to go through it with the gentleman. And we did it, Carm, because I realized that there were some communication deficiencies within the organization. And as much as I could coach the manager that he has to approach each individual differently, I had no way to really back that up, other than saying they communicate differently, they are different people, they are humans, and they're motivated differently. And I thought, how am I going to get that data? How am I going to get that information so that he understands how and why and what? And DISC is where it seemed to be. So I'm excited later this month to kind of see how that plays out. But then more importantly, how does it help the team develop and become better and deliver better results for our clients?
Bill, it is awesome. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, like one of the people on my team, I'm having a hard time connecting with her right now. And I was studying her disc a couple of days ago, and it reminded me that family is very important to her, and I need to get back to connecting with the person again. It was so cool to me though, because I really was feeling like we were drifting apart. She's been a big part of the team, and I'm like, I feel like we're drifting. And then to be able to look at that, I'm like, okay, I got to remember, just be person, be a human again, be nice. It's not manipulating. It's just reminding me as a high D that it's like, slow down, just ask how things are going. Be a human again.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited for you, Bill. Honestly, it's so cool to be able to have it. I even have my kids all take it. And my daughter and I were butting heads for a really long time. And then to be able to know that she's a high D, it changed our relationship. Literally, it did. We were, not to go on a little bit of a story here, but we were at a boxing championship thing, and she's, 15, and she's a really driven person. We were butting heads in the hotel room. We're talking about this, that, and the other. And I just got a disc result back from one of my employees. And I said, you need to take this. So she took it and came back. She's a high D. And our relationship has been entirely different since then. Because it's like, instead of me just saying, you know what, sweetheart, you got to hit here. You got to do this. You got to do this. You got to duck. It's like, I had to explain to her why those things were being done. And all of a sudden, it changed everything. And literally our relationship has been so much better since then because we both are high Ds. We know that. It's like dad's just he's just a high D. It's not personal when he says things. I know now about her. She tells me, I don't want to talk to you tonight. I'm like, okay, I know what it is. It's just, she's a high D and she's just in her head. I give her a few minutes. She comes back and we talk and everything's good. But before I blow up, it's like, what do you mean you don't want to talk? No, this isn't how we do things here. And it's like, it's just knowing. It's so powerful. I mean, even with your kids, right? I mean,
even with the same personality or the communication style, if you know the one that you're talking to, you say, "Oh, I'm talking to me. How does me want to handle this?"
Right, exactly.
We took a similar test here at our shop, and I think it helped me a lot. Like y'all had both said, that just knowing what personality our employees have. I took the test and I shared my results with all of my staff so they know how to interact with me too. It's not a secret. So I just presented that to them. I work at a 99% more accurate standard than probably most Americans. I'm very impatient. I move at a fast pace, and I want my employees to move at that same pace. But once I got their results, I found they don't operate the same way I do. I have a service advisor up at the front counter right now, and she is very accurate as well. But she has to triple check things to make sure that everything is okay. Otherwise, it causes her extreme anxiety. So she doesn't move as fast as I might, but she moves with more accuracy when she does it. So I had to slow my roll a little bit and notice that she's going to get it done. I trust her, but she's going to get it right because she works with such accuracy there. So that was important for me to see how they interact with each other and interact with me, and that they can see the other side of it as well, so they know how to interact with me.
Get it right.
That's right.
Wow, that's a heavy statement, huh?
Get it right.
Yeah, wow. Hey, let's talk a little bit, Rachel, about our counter and the power of soft skills that are so necessary to have great client interactions. And how does an individual learn the soft skill of conflict resolution?
I think that's something I can't say that I've learned it all the way yet. I think that's something, it's a work in progress always, because every customer is a little bit different. We don't know how we're necessarily going to do it. There's always going to be difficult situations and different circumstances. But I think that goes back to the whole thing of having empathy and just understanding where they're coming from. That helps with our conflict resolution, and taking that 3-second or that 10-second pause and just really hearing them and asking them, what can I do to make this better? Is it they can't fix their car and they don't have the finances to do it? Can we help them with financing? Is it a position where they're upset with us? What can we do to resolve this issue? But I think it really comes back to the listening skills to help with that conflict resolution, and to use those listening skills and our empathy to help us get through that conflict up at the front counter, even with our employees. It comes back to the empathy and listening.
Phil, am I crazy by talking about all this huddle stuff? There's a reason I'm saying this. First of all, let everybody in the shop listen to this episode on soft skills and let them all take a piece from it, a gold nugget. But as I said a little earlier, let's put empathy on our huddle maybe once a week. And why once a week shouldn't we add soft skills? And my point is there's so many areas that we can talk about. And if it's part of our job is to teach and to help and mentor our team into the soft skills that in many cases they've never learned, or they stumbled, Darrin, by understanding communication skills and, slobbering to learn things, or driving home says, well, I did something really stupid today. And why? Maybe by putting the words, listening skills and empathy and problem solving and friendliness, all this. Every week we take a different soft skill and we toss it around and the learning happens.
We should be doing that in the huddles. Yeah. So, a lot of times the morning huddles, and this is true at my shop, we're talking about what didn't work well yesterday, what went well yesterday, what parts broke out of the box, what parts were ordered wrong. We're talking about all those operational things. And rarely do we get to talk about how somebody went above and beyond, or how we saved the day for a client that was in from out of town, maybe how two of the employees resolved something together or teamed up on something. And it should be part of the agenda. Absolutely.
So I just implemented something because I was trying to get my team to work better together without me giving all the attaboys. I wanted them to give each other attaboys. So we implemented a coin system. So I bought these cheap little coins on Amazon. They're little gold coins. And I gave each of them 20 of the coins. And I told them, whenever one of your coworkers does something good, or you just feel that they've had a positive attitude or something like that, I want you to give them a coin. And once you've got 20 coins, you can come to me and turn those in, and you can get an hour off. You can get a $50 gift card, or you can choose to get pizza for the team. And I will tell you, out of all the employees, they have always picked the pizza party for the entire team. And it is a huge morale booster here in our shop. It's not me they're giving each other the attaboys by the coin system.
That's great.
That's cool. I think that
Sure.
we got to remember that it starts with us as owners and managers. That empathy starts with us. And if our team knows that we care about our customers, we know that we care about them, it translates to our customers. You set that example and they follow what you do. And so if the customer, this pain in the rear customer's there and you had all kinds of problems, and then they leave and they hear you talking bad about that customer, what a jerk. I can't believe they were like that. And they hear you talking about that. They see it's okay for them to do that. So we've got to remember that when it comes to empathy, dealing with other people, someone calls in sick, and are you talking to the rest of the team going, I don't think he's really sick. You know what? I knew it last night. He went to that concert late. You're setting that tone for the rest of the team. You know what? You want to have that conversation with just you and your manager behind closed doors, and, you need to talk about those things, fine, but don't bring the rest of your team into it. But we just got to remember that the rest of the world is watching. We're always on stage as an owner or as a manager,
Great point. Great point.
So Anyway, back to problem solving. I think it's something that was missing a lot in the generations today. And problem solving is something that a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. I mean, they go right to Chat GPT or they rely on others. And I think that teaching people to actually think is a huge thing. And that's why on that bullet point that I sent to you, it talks about setting aside think time. And that was a life changer for me when I realized that all of the famous people that I've looked up to and admired all set aside time to think. And Phil Knight is one of my heroes. What he did with Nike is incredible, from him being who he was, that nerdy, geeky little guy, to growing into, building Nike. And one of his secrets is that every night he would sit in his recliner and he would sit and think about the things and stuff that was going on in his life. Henry Ford was a big thinker. It doesn't matter. Steve Jobs, I don't care who you study, even Rockefeller was a big thinker. And teaching them that it's okay to not have an answer right then and there, that it's okay to actually think through things and really come up with a solution before they come back to you for a problem, if that makes sense. Somebody was talking about that earlier you were actually mentioning that before we started, Carm, that going in and just complaining about something and not having a solution is really frustrating for an owner. I'd rather know that you put some thought into it and then I'll help you work through it. But you come and dump something on my lap that you haven't thought through. It doesn't, I'm not a big fan of that. Think through it and come to me with some ideas and I'll help you. Let's work through it. But to come in and dump it on my lap and say, you know what, we're getting low billable hours and then storm it off isn't going to work. And tell me, what are some ideas you think we could do to improve the low billable hours? Let's work through it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But teaching them to think, especially with the distractions of phones and all the stuff we have going on around us, people need time to just be alone and just think through things and figure out their problems. So that's why I put that down, is I think how important it is to really teach our people that, of course, I'm not saying we're going to get analysis paralysis or we're just going to sit down and think about everything into really great detail. But big problems, big things, sometimes take a little bit of time to solve them.
That's a great soft skill. I mean, and something to talk about inside the business, and that would be think time.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It is huge. It is huge. It was a big learning experience for me. It was going from being in the shop and running around, chasing my tail, putting out fires, answering phones, and feeling all so important all the time. And then my coach was like, hey, it's great that you're doing all this stuff, but to really grow the business, you have to be working on the business, not in the business. It's this phrase we hear all the time, but my life changed when, you've heard the story, Carm. My ginger literally locked me in the office. She locked me in there. They took my phone out. They took my computer out and they put a yellow sticky note on the door. And it said, do not disturb. And I kept that, and my sticky note is still on that desk. And to remind me that I need that think time. And they locked me in there for an hour, and that hour was the most painful hour of my life, because I sat there and I was like, the phone, I can hear it ringing out there. I can hear customers. And I'm like, what am I going to do? This is driving me absolutely crazy. Yeah. And then I had a notebook, and I was allowed to have my notebook. And so I just started writing down things that were going on in my brain and what I wanted to do to fix them. And it literally changed my life, because it was like, wow, all I need to do is sometimes just stop, take myself out of the equation, and just work on I still do it to this day. In fact, I was doing it this morning. I got my notebook right here, and I was jotting down the stuff that was bothering me and what I needed to do. And I made a list, and it's called a 20 list is what I call it. You come up with your problem, and you write 20 solutions to the problem. And that's hard to do. Do you think about it? It's like, it should be easy to just come up with a couple solutions, but to write 20 different solutions and next steps, it takes a lot of work. But I now enjoy doing it, because now I got a plan for the stuff that was bothering me. I'm good. I let it go now until I get frustrated again and have to do it again.
It takes creativity too.
It does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's hard, because I would much rather just sit and look at my phone or go into emails or do all this other stuff. But when you have to sit down and focus, it's hard, but it's so rewarding when it's done. I'm like, I need to remember to do that. Instead of letting things overwhelm me, it's like, just sit down, just go through your list. You got this.
Very, very powerful stuff. Thank you. Hey, you brought up Phil Knight and Nike.
Yeah. Oh my
Anybody
goodness.
ever remember way back when he first started what the image of one of his early ads was? An individual.
Like the Aztec or what?
A little tiny runner on this big, landscape, if you will. And the line below it, anybody remembers what the slogan of the company was?
I don't.
There is no finish line.
That's right.
Throw that in one of your huddles.
Yeah.
As a thought. Wow. I don't know if we accomplished what we wanted to accomplish, but this was really a fabulous chat amongst great peers in the industry. Let's go around the room. Anything that maybe you wanted to cover or didn't, or a summary, let's put a bow on it. We'll do Bill, Rachel, and then Darrin. Bill, your final. Bill Snow from Rad Air.
Yeah, thanks. So this was great topic. I hope it helps the listeners. Two real quick things. So, we were talking about problem solving, and this came up just today. One of our locations It's owned by me and a business partner. And our manager there is constantly coming to us with, I need this, can I get this? And today we told them, listen, if it's under $100 and you think it's the right decision, just make it. You don't need to call us. So put those parameters there for your team. Give them guidelines to make decisions. And then you're going to be able to review those. And the other thing I wanted to share real quickly is this came up in a huddle just this week. A manager was complaining that nobody was, there wasn't enough help at the end of the day to pull cars in. So I was in this huddle and I said, do they know what cars to pull in? Because they're not going to wait 15, 20 minutes for you to tell them what cars to pull in. So there was a big, okay, I will have those cars ready to go before 5 o'clock so they know what's coming in for the night. So, if there's problems in the shop, make sure that everyone understands what part they own, how they can influence that and get that problem solved.
Solutions sometimes are right at the end of your nose. Thank you for that, Bill. Rachel Spencer's Auto Repair, Krum, Texas. Rachel, thanks for being here. Final.
I think we just got to remember to empower our people, whether it's our employees or our kids, is just give them an opportunity. If they're not making mistakes, they're probably not trying hard enough. We all made mistakes. We all put our hand in the fire before we got burned and learned that we've got to give them the grace and also teach them some grit to get this done.
I just love that. Grace and grit. Whew. Powerful stuff.
Is it another Rachelism? Carm?
That's
Yeah,
another
there it is.
Rachel.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
there
cool.
it is right there. That's it. Darrin Barney, CEO Elite, co-owner of Barney Brothers out in Grand Junction, Colorado. Darrin, thanks for being here. Final word.
Thank you. I think I'm going to go back to the empathy thing. I just think it's important that we always remember that life is full of peaks and valleys. And we got to remember that when our people are struggling or having hard times, that they're just down in that valley and we got to help them to get back up to the peak. We went to India. I learned a lot about the Indian people and how they walk around doing this namaste. And it just means my soul honors your soul on its journey. We just got to remember that when we're dealing with these people, no matter how much it is a high D or how much we want to get these results, but we got to remember that they're people, and that we just never know what's going on in their world. So anyway, just remember that when you're dealing with your people, to be nice, take care of them, because you just never know what's going on behind the curtains. So
very, very powerful words. Hey, thank you all for being here as we went way under the covers on soft skills. We appreciate it. And hopefully everyone will be better off because of this great discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.